Welcome. I am Bert van Wee, Professor in Transport Policy at Delft University of Technology. The topic of this lecture is the economics of electric vehicles compared to internal combustion engine vehicles. We will explore how the costs of ownership for both types of vehicles differs. Higher purchase costs for electric vehicles compared to gasoline and diesel equivalents are a major barrier for electric vehicle adoption. Depending on country-specific tax rules, electric vehicles are, in sales prices, often 20 to 50% more expensive. However, the purchase costs are not the only costs of owning a vehicle. For an honest comparison, we will use the concept of total cost of ownership, which includes all the costs incurred over the lifetime of a vehicle. Costs, in addition to purchase costs, include financing, the fuel costs, insuring the vehicle, annual taxes to be paid, maintenance costs, and the depreciation of the vehicles. We will explore each of these cost categories in more detail. We first disentangle purchase costs. The main cost component of a vehicle are the drivetrain and the chassis. Currently, the battery price determines nearly a third of the costs of an electric vehicle, which continues to decline with recent developments. Since 2010, the battery costs per kilowatt hour have decreased by 90% due to continued research and development and increasing economies of scale. Car purchase prices have not decreased accordingly because car manufacturers have increased the range of cars. The purchase price parity between EVs and gasoline-driven cars will probably be achieved in most segments and countries by the late 2020s, and some will reach this point sooner. The magic number that is often mentioned is a price of $100 per kilowatt hour of battery storage. There are, however, some potential pitfalls for such a scenario to become reality. First, as demand increases, so is the price of raw materials needed for the batteries. Secondly, the electric vehicles that are currently sold have lower profit margins than conventional vehicles. As the price of the battery drops, automakers could first choose to re-establish their profit margins instead of lowering the prices of vehicles. Thirdly, vehicle manufacturers could decide to increase the range as opposed to decreasing the price of the vehicles. Higher purchase costs of electric vehicles imply higher capital costs, especially if one needs a loan to buy the vehicles. An option that is becoming more popular is leasing, which reduces financial uncertainties. A downside is that leasing is more expensive as leasing companies have to make a profit. Let's move on to the driving costs. Per kilometer, driving an electric vehicle is cheaper than driving on gasoline or diesel. This simple calculation on the right shows the difference is a factor 3. The price of gasoline is well known to significantly fluctuate over time. Electricity prices are lower and stable and will most likely drop in the future due to the increasing market share of cheap, sustainably produced electricity. Using smart charging, your electric vehicles can optimally make use of the low prices of electricity, as the vehicle is parked 95% of the time unless they are shared. In practice, it's a hassle to buy electricity for the lowest possible price because there are large differences between prices at the office, at home, or at public charging stations. And especially at public charging stations, attention should be paid to which billing system is used. Depending on the location, billing can be done per kilowatt hour, per session, per hour, or a combination of these. Next, we discuss insurance costs. Electric vehicles have higher insurance costs than conventional vehicles. The first reason is that electric cars have a higher purchase price than comparable models. Secondly, the repair costs of these cars requires specialist garages which are more costly. Thirdly, insurance companies are uncertain about driving behavior of electric vehicle users and consequently risks. But insurance companies will likely get more information about accident risks of electric vehicles as more electric cars come on the road. Some factors that might increase risks are the lack of engine sound, fast acceleration, and the high weight of an electric vehicle. Taxes are an important category of policy measures that countries can use to incentivize the sales of electric vehicles. Checking your country's tax advantages could be worthwhile. Vehicle taxes generally come in two types: purchase tax and yearly taxes. Some countries offer direct, lower purchase taxes for electric vehicles. If countries tax a vehicle based upon its CO2 emissions, electric vehicles clearly have an advantage. In some countries, yearly taxes of EVs are lower than for other vehicles or even absent. Be aware that tax benefits for electric vehicles could change over time with a growing number of electric vehicles on the road. Maintenance of a vehicle is often an expensive part of vehicle ownership, especially when vehicles become older. Maintenance costs of electric vehicles are much lower because they have less than 30 moving parts compared to over 2,000 for an ICE vehicle. The use of regenerative braking, putting less stress on tires and brakes, also reduces maintenance costs, but depending on your driving behavior, the fast acceleration of vehicles can offset this gain. And the fact that you have to go to the car dealer as opposed to a local garage results in higher maintenance costs. Depreciation of the vehicle is the highest cost category of vehicle ownership. One of the factors that plays an important role in the second-hand value of an electric car is the battery lifetime. Batteries degrade when recharged, but recent research shows that batteries last longer than expected several years ago. The so-called state of health of the battery determines the remaining range. Future tests can reduce uncertainties about the state of health of batteries. Although there is still uncertainty about the second-hand value of electric vehicles, this uncertainty is decreasing now that electric vehicles are longer on the market. Fast technological developments make that cars with longer ranges are coming on the market soon, and these can make older models obsolete. As explained above, to reduce related uncertainties, it is an option to lease the car. Fleet owners can spread risks through a so-called diversification strategy, which means keeping a mix of vehicle types in their portfolio. It is good to note that many local governments offer additional incentives, such as access to high occupancy vehicle lanes or bus lanes. Some offer free parking or reduced rates on toll roads. And if cities will ban diesel vehicles, EVs will become even more attractive. To sum up, this lecture has shown that currently electric vehicles are still more expensive to buy than conventional vehicles. However, due to dropping battery prices, this will change in the coming years. From a fleet perspective, it is more useful to compare costs over the lifetime using the concept of total costs of ownership. National and local incentives can make that electric vehicles based on the TCO are already cheaper than at the moment.